of the American people who voted for him. Their only goal is to maintain the status quo. Agents coming together.
morning and welcome to episode 49 of Loomer Unleashed. I'm your host, Laura Loomer. Yesterday, in an interview, Nikki Haley announced that she would, in fact, be voting for Donald Trump this November after all. This comes after being one of his most vocal opponents during this Republican primary and actively denouncing the MAGA movement. So what exactly has led Tricky Nikki to have such a sudden change of heart and bend the knee to Donald Trump? Well, it is obvious that Haley has not had an epiphany realizing the error of her ways. Instead, Nikki has clearly made the calculation that she is better off grifting off the MAGA movement than she is opposing it. She seeks to hitch her wagon to Donald Trump, who has all the momentum, and get carried right back into power. This is the opening stages of an insurgent neocon coup of the MAGA movement, playing out right before our eyes ahead of the RNC convention. People like Nikki Haley and her ilk seek to infiltrate and obstruct the next Trump administration, just as they did in 2016. And if we are not vigilant, they will succeed. Nikki Haley represents the worst of the Republican Party. She is a true product of the swamp and the backward neocon thinking that has plagued the GOP for decades. After serving as governor of South Carolina, Haley was tapped by President Trump, unfortunately, to become the UN ambassador. After less than 2 years in the position, she mysteriously resigned. Curiously, she was then given a spot on the board of Boeing. This begs the question, what does Nikki Haley know about airplanes? The answer, of course, is nothing. Haley's experience in politics didn't grant her some sort of arcane knowledge of aircraft. She was given that board position, which likely paid her over $300,000 a year, enough to afford her multi-million-dollar mansion, or shall I say mansions, as a political favor. So why would Boeing owe her such a huge favor like that? Well, it turns out that Nikki Haley pulled a few strings back when she was governor of South Carolina to prevent one of Boeing's manufacturing plants from unionizing. She also helped push through an incentive package valued at $900 million to bring Boeing to South Carolina in the first place back in 2009. Long story short, she scratched their back and they certainly scratched hers in return. This is par for the course with many of these swamp politicians. They are in politics to enrich themselves and their donors, not to help the American people. So long as the money keeps flowing into their bank accounts, little else matters. Haley seeks to continue the status quo because it is that same status quo that enriches her and her cronies. This is why nothing ever changes in our nation. We continue going on as we have been indefinitely. We continue importing invaders to keep wages low and corporate profits high. We continue to allow our culture to degrade so that everyone's identity is removed and replaced by being an economic unit, a working slave. If it were up to the neocons like Nikki Haley, they would still have total control over the RNC. For years, Ronna Romney steered the GOP at the national level into the ground. Her total mismanagement saw crucial funding being given to garbage candidates and national talking points, being only a few years behind the Democrats with acceptance of cultural degeneracy, amnesty, and other touchstone issues. The RNC refused to take a hardline stance on immigration, as have many of the GOP's ranking and file politicians. Even on her way out the door, Ronna Romney quietly received a six-figure payout. Shameful. That was donor money put directly into the pocket of a rhino failure who did nothing to earn her salary, let alone a massive payout. That cash could have been put to excellent use doing opposition research like I do, or funding strong MAGA candidates and election integrity efforts this coming election in November. This just goes to show you that even when neocons lose, they still find a way to cash in and cash out. And now, when neoconservatism appears to be on its deathbed, about to be beaten by MAGA for a third time, people like Nikki Haley are still conniving and plotting on how they can profit yet again. Haley, while barely clinging to political relevance after being pummeled in the primaries by Donald Trump, sees a golden opportunity. If she and her rhino pals can find a way to get their foot in the door of a second Trump White House, they may have another chance at ultimate victory. They recognize that MAGA has the energy and the mandate of the base. Thus, they know that if there is money and power to be had, they must pretend to be MAGA for the next 4 years, if they can stomach it. In reality, they do not give a damn about President Trump or the will of the American people who voted for him. Instead, their only goal is to maintain the status quo and keep their paychecks coming and flowing. The biggest issue in Trump's first term, if we're being honest, was the people that he chose to staff in key positions throughout his administration. Time and time again, these critical positions turned out to be staffed by people who were disloyal, self-important rhino scum. This internal friction, combined with opposition from the Democrats, prevented many of the top priority items on Trump's agenda from being completed. And in the end, many of these people abandoned President Trump and stabbed him in the back after the stolen election of 2020 and the January 6th protest at the United States Capitol. So if Nikki Haley and her friends are allowed to infiltrate the White House for a second term, just think about that nightmare scenario. Our border will never be secured. The illegal immigrant invaders will not be deported, and the deep state will not be cleaned out. Instead, a totally neutered Trump administration will produce more of the same career government employees incapable of breaking this nation from the disastrous course it is on. To be honest, this is my personal greatest fear, that we are able to secure a massive win in November against the Democrats, but then we're denied a victory by the terrible people in our own party who pretend to be Trump loyalists in an effort to get close to President Trump to sabotage him and his supporters. I pray that Donald Trump not only wins the presidency this November, but also makes the correct decisions in only hiring people who love him, who believe in his message, and have the interests of the American people and the MAGA base at heart. The second Trump administration must only be filled with ride-or-die Trump loyalists, and I'm on a mission to make that happen.
There is a young female journalist, conservative journalist by the name of Laura Loomer.
If America's men acted like Laura Loomer, our problems would be fixed in about 5 minutes.
Chained herself to
She
Twitter.
chained herself.
Good evening, and thank you so much for tuning in to episode 49 of Loomer Unleashed. I'm your host, Laura Loomer. We have a really jam-packed show for you tonight. Really exciting. I mean, I'm sure that all of you are just as excited and pumped up as I am after watching that incredible rally, that Trump rally, that historic Trump rally in the Bronx tonight, where over 25,000 people showed up to watch President Trump in the Bronx. The first time a Republican presidential candidate has visited the Bronx to campaign since Ronald Reagan in the 80s. So really, President Trump is making history. And when he wins this November, it truly is going to be the biggest comeback story our country has ever witnessed, and I'm just so excited. We had a stream up on Loomer Unleashed on Rumble and X, and so for those of you who watched, I see some of you decided to stay for the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time watching Loomer Unleashed, welcome. We are live right now on Rumble, so please be sure that you repost this stream so that other people can see it, and go to rumble.com/Laura Loomer. Be sure that you download the Rumble app and subscribe. It's free to do so. You can do so by going to rumble.com/Laura Loomer. And when you do that, you can click the follow button, and also be sure that you click the Get Loomered button, because that's how you can subscribe to my locals, loomer.locals.com, and that's where you can, of course, sign up to be a monthly subscriber for $7 a month or $70 per year, so that I can keep on breaking all of these big investigative stories that I break, and doing the work that I do to bring you the most MAGA show really this election season. Loomer Unleashed is, in my opinion, a great show. President Trump watches it, so if it's good enough for President Trump, it's good enough for me. I'm rocking the Trump Never Surrender t-shirt tonight, because I figured that since President Trump was in court again And, he had this historic rally. Why not? Why not celebrate him? We're going to have special guests tonight. We're going to have Corey Lewandowski, President Trump's former campaign manager from 2016. There was a report that just came out that shows that Corey, well, let's get that report up on the screen. Corey Lewandowski has been brought back on to assist the Trump campaign ahead of 2024 by assisting with the ever broken, and I guess, I don't know what's wrong with the RNC. We're going to talk to Corey about it tonight. Maybe he can tell us. But he's been brought on to assist with the upcoming convention, which, of course, is taking place in July in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we have a lot of issues at the RNC right now. And look, I know that Laura Trump and Chris LaCivita, President Trump's campaign manager, have been put in charge of the RNC, and they fired some people, but there's still a lot more people that need to be fired. So we're going to talk to Corey about that tonight and the changes that need to take place, because look, if President Trump is going to win in November, we have the momentum, we have the machine, but we need to make sure that the people at the RNC controlling the money and controlling the strategy are not working to sabotage President Trump like they did in 2016 and 2020. And unfortunately, a lot of the same people who, sabotaged President Trump in 2016 are still at the RNC. I posted a report on my X account, believe yesterday, that shows that Ronna Romney received a massive payout, almost $119,000 on her way out the door. In fact, it was after she chose to resign. I think we can get that up on my X account too. But just goes to show you that donor money is still being wasted at the RNC, and we need to put an end to that. So here we go. Remember when we were told that Ronna Romney was resigning from the RNC? Well, the latest FEC reports, unbelievable, show that she was paid out over $119,000 on March 6, 2024. Just like I said below, she was paid after she resigned. Here's the receipts to prove it. Ronna announced her resignation on 2/26/2024. She was paid almost $9,000 on February 29th, and she was then paid out nearly $119,000 on March 6th. What a waste of valuable GOP donor money. So let's click that first news graphic right there, RNC. Scroll down, you see February 26th. And next, there you go. There's the FEC receipts that show that she was paid. And I love how people call her Ronna McDaniel. You know that President Trump in 2000 and I believe it was 17, when she was RNC chairwoman, he asked her to change her name. It's not McDaniel, it's Romney. And he asked her to change it from Romney to McDaniel. So a lot of people don't know that. I actually wrote about that in my book, Loomer, How I Became the Most Banned Woman in the World. But people need to learn these things, because she, of course, doesn't want a lot of people knowing. And, it's amazing to me how many people still have no idea that Ronna Romney is the niece of Mitt Romney, of course, the Trump-hating United States senator. So let's go back to that report before we get Corey on, because Corey will be joining us momentarily. Corey Lewandowski, who has drifted in and out of President Trump's orbit. See, whenever they say former President Trump, I refuse to say that, right? I refuse to say former, because they only say former when they talk about President Trump. Have you noticed that? They don't ever say that when they talk about other people. Very weird. He's joining the Trump campaign ahead of November's election. A campaign official confirmed to The Hill that Lewandowski is advising the campaign on the delegate and convention process. A second official said Lewandowski is engaged on the convention team. Okay, so that's great, because we have, unfortunately, the chair of the convention, Reince Priebus, who was fired by Trump during his first term for being a leaker. So maybe Corey should be in charge of the convention. The Republican National Convention is slated to take place in mid-July in Milwaukee. Lewandowski served as Trump's first campaign chair during the 2016 campaign before he was ousted and eventually replaced by Kellyanne Conway and Paul Manafort. The Massachusetts native co-authored 2 books during Trump's first term that were highly complimentary of Trump, defended him against criticism, and lashed out against the so-called deep state. All righty. Well, let's get back to that report. Let's also be sure that you visit Loomer.com. We have a lot of reports that we're going to be talking about tonight. Loomer.com, that's Loomer.com. In case you didn't hear about it yesterday, I actually got somebody banned from Twitter. I got a woman by the name of Catherine Grace Jordan. You want to go ahead and open this report here. Banned from Twitter because this psychopath leftist tweeted that she wanted to shoot President Trump to kill. So she wanted to assassinate President Trump at his rally in the Bronx today. And when I was looking at this crazy lady's Twitter account, I saw that, she was followed. She's actually followed. Let's open that tweet at the bottom right there. Breaking. Let's open that. The person who just threatened to assassinate President Trump goes by the name Catherine Grace Jordan, and she is followed by Democrat U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, who supports Joe Biden. This person needs to be arrested by Secret Service ASAP. They said they plan to, quote, shoot to kill when they see President Trump in the Bronx tomorrow. Their bio says that they are in New York City and Palm Beach. I just sent this to Secret Service. CC Elon Musk, I see this person as a premium account. You should send their ID information to Secret Service. So no word from Amy Klobuchar as to why she's following this deranged lunatic who said they want to assassinate Donald Trump. But I'm happy to see that the account has been permanently banned. And like I said, I sent this to the Trump campaign last night. And I also, sent it to Secret Service. And I know that they're investigating. And so who knows when this woman's going to get arrested. I mean, that is certainly an offense you can be arrested for. So hopefully soon, because that is some wild commentary right there. Let's scroll down and open up the bottom so that you can see what she said. So she was replying to a tweet that was posted by a Trump supporter that said, President Donald J. Trump is going to make history tomorrow in the Bronx, New York. Are you ready to MAGA? And they said, I will shoot to kill if in range. So we actually ended up confronting Loomer Unleashed correspondent Charles Downs. We actually confronted Senator Amy Klobuchar before this incident happened to ask her what she thought about the fact that some of her Senate Democrat colleagues in the Senate, of course, were clients of Judge Merchan's daughter, Lauren Merchan, and what she thought about this sham trial against President Trump, which, of course, is taking place in New York. So let's go ahead and play this clip because I just love the look on her face. That's the face of somebody who definitely eats salad with a comb. Let's go ahead and play the video.
Do you have an opinion on how the Trump trial's going? Judge Merchan's conflict of interest? A lot of your Democrat colleagues are colleagues of Lauren Merchant's authentic campaigns. Care to comment?
Cross. So as you can see, she couldn't wait. She could not wait to get into that elevator. Let's go back to that Loomered article that we have up on the site right there. The Loomered article. Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, who faces re-election in November and is a Biden supporter, of course. Her behavior this past week conveys a different reality. She ran into the elevator Tuesday when Loomer Unleashed asked if she would comment on President Trump's trial and her U.S. Senate colleagues' decision to have their campaigns work with authentic campaigns, a firm owned by Judge Merchan's daughter, Lauren. The Senate Democrat majority, a PAC Chuck Schumer uses to help Democrats like Klobuchar, has hired Lauren Merchan's authentic campaigns this 2024 cycle. And of course, if you look at the expenditure reports too, you'll see that Authentic Campaigns is one of the top 3 vendors for the Senate Democrat majority PAC. So that means that, out of all their vendors, which they have a lot of vendors, of the top 3, Authentic Campaigns is getting the most money. So the judge's daughter is making millions of dollars this cycle. And of course, all these Democrats are raising money off of Donald Trump being indicted and being in the courtroom every single day for the last 5 weeks. So it's very unethical, major conflict of interest, and I think a lot of people have come to see this, and we have some more breaking news on this tonight because every single time one of these radical Democrats opens their mouths and talks shit about Trump, we're just going to expose them. We're just going to show, because I'm making a list, right? And I almost got it down to a science now, where we're like, all right, which Democrat is going to talk shit about Trump before his rally today, right? And then I'm able to identify which ones are Authentic Campaigns clients so that when they do open their mouth to talk a bunch of shit, we're just going to drop exposés on them. And that's what I did, of course, today to Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat House Minority Leader, and we're going to get that up momentarily as well in my X account so that you can see, just like Mickey Sherrill, who commented a week and a half ago that, Donald Trump isn't welcome in New Jersey, go back to court. She's a client of Lauren Merchan's. Hakeem Jeffries, of course, if you want to scroll down, let's show everybody what he said today. So he said, the Boston Red Sox are more popular in the South Bronx than Donald Trump. Go home. He tweeted that 5 hours ago. Let's open that tweet. So he's getting ratioed. You can see, I mean, the tweet has 7.7 thousand likes and he has 6.1 thousand comments. And my comments is, of course, the top comment. What do you know? Amazing. Wow. I have 4.4 thousand likes. See, I was so busy prepping for the show and watching Trump's rally that I didn't even have time to look at it. So as you can see my report there, scroll up. Exclusive, New York Democrat Congressman and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has sent nearly $1.5 million in payments to the personal home residence of Judge Juan Merchan's daughter, Lauren Merchan, the president of Authentic Campaigns. And of course, Authentic Campaigns is the Democrat political consulting firm that his daughter runs. As President Trump's rally in the Bronx, New York is about to take place, Democrat House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries told Donald Trump to go home and said Donald Trump wasn't popular in the South Bronx. That's funny because, you know, Donald Trump got over 25,000 people to show up to his rally tonight. And I want to know how many people would show up for Joe Biden or Hakeem Jeffries. Probably not 25,000 people. So maybe Hakeem Jeffries should shut his mouth. A week and a half ago, New Jersey Democrat Congresswoman Nikki, who is also a client of Lauren Merchan's and has sent hundreds of thousands of dollars to Lauren's personal residence, posted a tweet ahead of Trump's massive rally in Wildwood, New Jersey, in which she told Donald Trump to go back to court. Do we have that? Let's go to the Loomer Unleashed website and pull that report up too, because we have that report as well, where everybody can follow along. So I just want to make sure that all of you, you see these reports. Let me see if I can pull this up too. The one about Mickey Sherrill. Just type in Mickey Sherrill. Because all of these reports, I know that it's a lot to follow during the live show, but you can go to Loomer.com and you can see all the archive reports there. Let's go back to the Twitter page too. Oh, here we go. Exclusive, scroll up. Getting Trump pays off as New Jersey Dem rep Mickey Sherrill, who told President Trump to go back to court, is a client of Judge Merchan's daughter's Authentic Campaign firm. Alrighty. So you could see the same thing is happening with Hakeem Jeffries. Go back to the tweet. A week and a half ago, New Jersey Democrat Congresswoman Mickey Sherrill, who is also a client of Lauren Merchan's and has sent hundreds of thousands of dollars to Lauren's personal residence, posted a tweet ahead of Trump's massive rally in Wildwood, New Jersey, in which she told Donald Trump to go back to court. Scroll down. This seems like the same exact writing style, which makes me suspect Lauren Merchan wrote both of their tweets. Lauren Merchan does, quote, digital consulting and digital fundraising for Hakeem Jeffries, which means she likely tweets for him. Did Lauren Merchan just write this anti-Trump tweet that was posted before Trump's rally in the Bronx from Hakeem Jeffries' Twitter account? Jeffries, or as I like to call him, Dollar Tree Barack Hussein Obama, is a New York Democrat who represents New York 8. Turns out Hakeem Jeffries is a client of Judge Merchan's daughter, Lauren Merchan, and has sent her over $1.4 million in payments to her personal residence. And of course, you know, as we exposed exclusively here, her personal residence is in Richmond, Virginia. So why is Hakeem Jeffries sending nearly $1.5 million to Judge Merchan's daughter's personal house, scroll down, in Richmond, Virginia, when her father is overseeing Trump's trial in New York City? Seems like a massive conflict of interest, and I'm starting to wonder if there's a money laundering operation going on. The address on Hakeem Jeffries' Schedule B FEC form is the same address as Lauren Merchan's home address, where she lives with her husband, Taylor Harper, who works for Joe Biden's Census Bureau. This is so unethical, and House GOP and House Oversight needs to subpoena Lauren Merchan and Authentic Campaigns ASAP. Let's go ahead and open up those reports right now. I'm going to look at them right now, too, so that on my phone, so we can get these all pulled up. So here we have Authentic Campaigns, Jeffries for Congress, and you can see we blocked out the address, and you can see that it says Richmond, Virginia. And when you look at these forms here, you will see that it's an expenditure. Well, he's been using her as a client for quite some time now, too. But the purpose of the disbursement, if you can see on the screen right there, says digital acquisition. So she's doing digital consulting work for him. Let's scroll through the next. One as well. Authentic Campaigns, digital acquisition, strategic consulting services. Okay, I mean hundreds of thousands of dollars here, totaling to $1.4 million. Next. Digital fundraising services, digital acquisition. So this is a lot of money. And we see with Representative Dan Goldman, who admitted to advising Michael Cohen as well, prepping him. Do we have that clip? We can get that clip pulled up as well, just to remind people. We have, we can play those clips as well. We also have President Trump, speaking outside of the courthouse, but just to remind everybody of what Dan Goldman said in his own words. This is a guy who was on MSNBC or MSDNC, as I like to call them, and he said that he briefed Michael Cohen before his testimony in court. Let's go ahead and play the clip.
And I have deposed Michael Cohen. I have met with him a number of times to prepare him. And I have deposed Michael Cohen. I have met with him a number of times to prepare him.
So that, of course, is extremely unethical, right? That's very unethical that, Dan Goldman is talking about how, he's briefing Michael Cohen for what exactly, right? You have a Democrat congressman who's the client who has retained the judge's daughter's company, the political consulting firm, and has sent hundreds of thousands of dollars. And we've reported on this on the website too. You can go to Loomer.com, and that's where you can find all of these reports about Dan Goldman too. So you have a Democrat congressman admitting to briefing the prosecution's star witness. We actually confronted him and we asked him about this, and he pretended to be on the phone. Let's go ahead and play that clip because Loomer Unleashed correspondent Charles Downs confronted Representative Dan Goldman in his office yesterday. We tracked him down to ask him about why he's sending hundreds of thousands of dollars of these payments to Judge Merchan's daughter's personal residence while he is briefing and talking to the prosecution's star witness, Michael Cohen. And he used the oldest trick in the book, you guys. He pretended to be on his cell phone. And you can see he pretended to be on his cell phone because it's black. And when you're walking, your phone has a motion sensor. Your phone has a motion sensor on your phone. So if you're still, your phone will be black. But if you're walking, your phone will light up. And that's how you know he's lying about being on the phone. He saw Charles walking down the hallway. Go ahead and play the clip.
Rep. Goldman, do you think it was a good idea? Oh, come on. He advised Michael Cohen in a trial. And he's on the phone. And he's with authentic campaigns. This is an important question. I don't really think he's on the phone. I think he's trying to avoid a question that he's Lauren Merchan's client, and he advised Michael Cohen, and that would be very bad for you.
You can see, he moves the phone away from his face when he gets in the room because it's the oldest trick in the book. Let's go ahead and play it one more time just because it's so funny watching him. And he goes, oh, please, 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 they're on the phone, they're on the phone, they're on the phone, as if we really care that you're taking a phone call. You're destroying our country. You are abusing our justice system and making a mockery of our justice system. And you think I care? Do you think we care about you and your stupid phone calls? I don't care about your phone calls. Go ahead and play the clip.
Rep. Goldman, do you think it was a good idea? Oh, come on. He advised Michael Cohen in a trial. And he's with authentic campaigns. This is an important question. I don't really think he's on the phone. I think he's trying to avoid a question that he's Lauren Merchan's client, and he advised Michael Cohen, and that would be very bad for you.
So you can see that Dan Goldman is a coward. He likes to talk a lot of shit about Donald Trump when he's on MSDNC. And, he loves attacking Donald Trump like a tough guy on Twitter. And, of course, I'm sure Lauren Merchan is writing his tweets for him because, Lauren Merchan does the digital consulting for a lot of these Democrats that are speaking very badly about President Trump online. And coincidentally, right, I don't really think it's a coincidence, they're sending checks to her personal home residence in Richmond, Virginia. And joining me now to talk about this and to talk about President Trump's historic rally in the Bronx tonight, as well as a lot of the, I don't know what you want to call it, chaos, confusion, sabotage. We're going to talk a lot about it tonight at the RNC. President Trump's 2016 campaign manager, Corey Lewandowski. Corey, thank you so much for joining me on Loomer Unleashed tonight. It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So, first of all, congratulations. I see that you are now back with the Trump campaign and you are assisting with the RNC convention ahead of, well, the convention in July. Can you just tell the viewers what that position is going to entail? Because I think that a lot of people are really concerned right now about whether or not we can trust what's going on at the RNC. We were told that Ronna Romney has been pushed out. We were told that all these mass firings were going to take place, but it seems like a lot of the same people have been quietly brought back on. And we just want to make sure that the convention isn't going to be sabotaged ahead of 2024. What can you tell us about your position and your involvement?
Well, I think the 2024 convention is going to be a lot like it was for those who remember the 2016 convention. And it was really the opportunity for Donald Trump to talk directly to the American people with a massive audience. And if you remember 2016, he did it on every single night. Now, historically, the nominee just comes out on the last night, makes a speech, and kind of hides the first 3 days. And we are given the opportunity to hear from a litany of other people from diverse backgrounds. But Donald Trump broke the mold in 2016. He came out every single night. Remember when Ted Cruz was speaking and he spoke for too long and he wouldn't endorse Donald Trump, and Donald Trump stepped out there to make sure that people knew he was there. So I think what we're going to see here in 2024 is Donald Trump going to once again take a very active role in the convention. And there are a number of people who have been out planning what they think is going to happen at the convention. What nobody realizes is that Donald Trump is the final decision maker. The people that do realize that are the ones that have been able to succeed, because, as we say, the best laid plans go by the wayside. And if somebody thinks they're speaking, that decision isn't finalized until Mr. Trump makes that final decision. So he is someone who is actively involved in the convention. As you know, he's actively involved in his campaign. And I think we are better when Donald Trump has the knowledge of what's going on and has the opportunity to weigh in on all those decisions.
Yeah, look, I think that we are better off when President Trump is able to be Trump, right? That was your motto in 2016, is let Trump be Trump, which is why you had so many haters on the 26 campaign and why you had so many people that were working against you, trying to push you out, making the arguments as to why, you were a liability to President Trump, which is what they like to say about all the Trump loyalists. Would you agree or disagree that President Trump is still surrounded by some people that are trying to hide this information from him, or are trying to mislead him as it relates to making excuses for why Trump haters have now been given positions at the RNC? I know specifically one of the people that I'm speaking about specifically is a guy by the name of Sean Carencross, who, of course, has been brought on to be the chief operating officer for the RNC, despite the fact that he was one of the people that had a walkout on President Trump on the day that the Billy Bush tapes were released by Hollywood Access. And, he plotted against President Trump with people like Reince Priebus and Katie Walsh. And now Reince Priebus is, for some reason, the chairman of the RNC convention. I mean, who's in charge of vetting, and when are we going to get this under control?
Well, here's what happens, and it's amazing to me, and I would love to say I'm surprised by this, but I'm really not. What happens is a number of these people who didn't support Donald Trump in 2016 found their way into the White House. They sabotaged his America First agenda. Many of them didn't believe in the America First agenda. And listen, in 2020, there were a number of people who actively worked against Donald Trump as he continued to seek the Republican nomination. They worked for a number of his opponents and ended up somehow finding their way back into the fold. And the problem I have is Donald Trump is so forgiving. I always say to him, sir, you're too nice. You have to remember what these people did to us, what they've said about you, the way that they tried to, campaign against you and make sure that you didn't win, and then you let them back in. And we saw it, enormous amounts of that in 2016. And I really believe that because of that, he brought a number of those people into the White House who should have never been brought in. They were allowed to come into the building. They subverted his agenda. There were numerous occasions where I would sit and have the privilege to be in the Oval Office, and Donald Trump would say to get something done, and we'd walk out, and some staff would say, yeah, we're not doing that. I said, well, I just heard the president say this. Yeah, we're not going to do that. We'll wait till he tells us 2 or 3 more times he's going to forget. Let me tell you something. He doesn't forget. And, those are the types of people that we don't need surrounding Donald Trump. and it's unfortunate. But Laura, what did we see, and what did you expose as it related to the general counsel, the former general counsel now, as we say, at the RNC? Charlie Spees, as someone who never, ever supported Donald Trump, was actively opposing Donald Trump, literally right up until the time he took a position inside the building and was supposed to be the person who was the top lawyer for the RNC. And it took the working people to bring that to Mr. Trump's attention, for him to fully engage and say, you know what, Charlie, we're going to invite you to do something else. And Charlie, as you saw, decided to leave the RNC because he couldn't dedicate the time that he said was needed to be there. But, you know, it's really tough because Donald Trump has broken politics, and people don't recognize just how fundamentally different things are with Donald Trump in the leadership role. Many of them still long for the days of Dick Cheney and George W. Bush, and they want to go back to the days of the polite conversations at the country clubs. Those days are over. Donald Trump has fundamentally changed politics, I think, for the better. I'm proud to have been the first employee of the Trump campaign in January of 2015, and I'm proud to still be by his side. And I think I have had the chance to, even though they say I'm controversial and I've had all these problems, you know, the reality is I give the guy my best advice and I tell him the truth. And that scares some people because they're afraid that when you tell him the truth, you know what, he acts on it.
Yeah, it seems like it's the controversial people that are the ones telling him the truth, while other people are making excuses for their friends who happen to be swamp monsters. And look, you know, I'm young, but at the end of the day, right, I think that a lot of these people who are older than me, who have had careers working in politics for a very long time, obviously, a lot of these people have worked for previous administrations. And so they probably do have friends that are from the Bush era or so. They probably do have friends on the other side of the political aisle. But, you know, it's not appropriate to make excuses for people who are failing President Trump and have a record of failing President Trump just because they're your friends, right? And that's my greatest worry, is that we have people surrounding President Trump right now who are good people, some of them, but some of these people are making excuses for people who are not good people just because, well, oh, you know, my kids went to school with their kids, or, oh, you know, I know his wife, she's a nice lady, or, oh, we're friends. I mean, it just doesn't matter, because it just seems like a lot of these people need to be fired and they're failing President Trump. A perfect example of this, look, Reince Priebus, he was a leaker. He was fired by President Trump in the first administration. And Ronna Romney, of course, made him in charge of the RNC convention for 2024. She's been fired. She's a failure. She's a loser. Okay. We don't deal with Ronna Romney anymore. So doesn't that mean that everybody who she appointed and everybody who she selected should also be removed from their positions? Because turns out a woman who delivered nothing but failure for the Republican Party the entire time that she was in her leadership position doesn't exactly make the best decisions. Why is her chief of staff, Richard Walters, getting paid $26,000 a month at the RNC? Why is Reince Priebus in charge of, organizing the RNC? Did you see the absolute shit show that was the Wisconsin convention this weekend? They didn't even have a single Trump sign.
No, look, you're right. And listen, here's what we have to remember, Laura, okay? We have an opportunity, and it is a very rare one, to put Donald Trump back into the White House. And these forces that are still operating against him, that pretend to be supporting him, we have to rid ourselves of them. Because if we are not successful in November, our country's gone forever, okay? We don't have another 4 years of standing up for Joe Biden and listening to him mumble about the NAACP or all of the other things that he can't read off of a teleprompter anymore. If we don't win this election, we have nowhere else to go. Our country's on the precipice of destruction. And so, listen, if you don't love Donald Trump and you don't love this country, get the hell out of the way. Don't pretend you're doing it just for a paycheck. Go do something else. Go be somewhere else. There are too many of us that have put too much effort into this, the Trump family being obviously the most, but they are all in. They have put their fortunes on the line. They have put their livelihoods on the line. They have put their reputations on the line. They have put their riches on the line. They have put everything on the line to make this country better. And these people who tend to pretend they are Donald Trump supporters have invested nothing. They have taken a paycheck and they have gone and turned their back on him every time it's gotten tough. And so it is now high time to make sure that the people who are surrounding Donald Trump are the people who want to make sure this country is great again. And you don't have to be in politics. People can go do something else for a living, but don't take the opportunity away from the people who really want to see this country be successful. And don't do that to the Trump family, because they deserve better.
So there are still people then at the RNC and people surrounding President Trump who need to be fired. Is that what you're saying?
Look, I'm saying, look, Laura, I read an article today that 4 or 5 Republican U.S. senators say they're not going to come to the convention, and another 5 are saying, we don't know if we're going to come. Look, this is the Republican nominee for the president of the United States. And if you're not with Donald Trump, then you're with Joe Biden. So let's just stop pretending, okay? It's now a binary choice. You are either with Donald Trump or you are with Joe Biden. There's no middle ground here anywhere. So either endorse Donald Trump or get the hell out of the way, or be accountable on election day. Because Donald Trump knows how to win. And some of those people who are around him, I know them very well. They're very good people, and they're in it for the right reasons. A whole bunch of them. And they have been with us from the beginning. Some of those people are just great. And some of them don't care if Donald Trump wins or Donald Trump loses. And I think if you had to do a double-blind random survey for half or more of the employees at the RNC, they would say, we don't care if Donald Trump wins or loses. They're there for the paycheck and not for the right reason.
Is anyone at the top of your list? I mean, because look, I'm all about naming names, right? And that's why I also, like you, have a lot of haters. But at the end of the day, Corey, I think we have 6 months left. We don't have time to waste anymore. Is there anybody who you think needs to be named and shamed live here on Loomer Unleashed tonight? Because we really are running out of time. As you said, we have 6 months left to save our country. And I don't think we have time to be protecting anybody. I think it's time to name and shame people. I think it's time to identify delegates that slip through the cracks in these delegate slates, which is what I plan on doing. I'm going to be doing deep dives into these people. You know, I was just on Steve Bannon's show yesterday talking to him about Nikki Haley's brother. Nikki Haley's brother actually had the audacity to go on Twitter and say that they're going to have a coup against Donald Trump. They're going to have a coup against Donald Trump at the RNC convention. I know that you're involved with the RNC convention. Are you worried that Nikki Haley or some of these rhinos who can't seem to get over the fact that Donald Trump beat them in the primary are going to be disruptive in an effort to create the image of a fractured GOP, or to try to replicate efforts of a brokered convention like we saw in 2016?
Sure. Look, you have done an amazing job of exposing some of these delegates who shouldn't have never been Trump delegates in the first place. But what we also know is Nikki Haley, as of this very minute, has not released her delegates that she secured while she was running for the nomination. And don't forget, this is the same woman who said, if Donald Trump runs, I will never run against him. You don't know which way Nikki Haley's going to go because she blows with the political wind. We know that. And if she wanted to right now, what did she say yesterday? Oh, I'm going to support Donald Trump. A real profile and courage for Governor Haley. I mean, Donald Trump took her from a governor, made her the ambassador to the United Nations, that she parlayed into making tens of millions of dollars. Okay, she had no money before. And then she goes out and says, I'll never run against him. She runs against him, forces our campaign to spend millions upon millions of dollars to defeat her. She wants to still have her cake and eat it too. Nikki Haley should right now release every single one of the delegates that she had and allow those people to go and vote for Donald Trump on the first ballot so that he has acclamation, a unanimous vote on the first ballot. I am concerned because we've seen the shenanigans in the past at the convention. The difference now is, and I say this as someone who's there in 2015 and 2016, as it relates to the convention, there is a level of professionalism among some of these people because we've had the opportunity now to do the 1 in 16 and to a lesser extent, do the 1 in 20. So we know what to expect and we are prepared for any of these potential floor fights. But if Nikki Haley really wants to help save America and have any kind of future in elected politics right now, release all of your delegates, allow them to go and become Donald Trump delegates, and let's make this a unanimous decision on who our Republican nominee is. We know it's Donald Trump, so let's stop with the charades.
So do you trust Nikki Haley when she says that she's going to vote for Donald Trump? Or do you think that she was, I guess you could say, smoked out yesterday upon the expose of her brother's social media posts and the revelation that upon being confronted by Trump senior advisors about her brother's social media posts, her campaign's top 3 senior advisors. 2 of them chose to ignore the communication from the Trump campaign, and one of them replied with the snarky response of saying, well, I'm sure the Trump kids have done the same thing to Nikki Haley.
Look, I don't trust Nikki Haley for 1 second. We know that she says one thing depending on where she is and then something different. And if you really want to know who Nikki Haley is, just go down to the state of South Carolina. And when she was running, look at all the endorsements that every elected official who's ever worked with her, from Henry McMaster, the current governor, all the way down to the local dog catcher, all endorsed Donald Trump in that campaign. The people who knew Nikki best didn't want her to be successful. Look, who supported Nikki Haley? The left-wing liberal section of the Republican Party who benefited from the Trump policies, but doesn't like the way he talks. Well, you know what? I'll take the way he talks over the failures of the Biden administration every single day. I love the fact that our enemies around the world are afraid of Donald Trump, and our allies around the world actually want to work with Donald Trump. We know that. And what did Donald Trump say just yesterday? When he becomes the president of the United States, that Wall Street Journal reporter is going to be released, because Vladimir Putin will do that because he knows what the repercussions are when Donald Trump is the president. So do I trust Nikki Haley? Absolutely not. Do I think she is self-serving? Absolutely. Do I think she should have run for president of the United States? Absolutely not. And Laura, look, let's just be honest. Anybody could run for president of the United States, but if you believe that Donald Trump was the best candidate, then why did you get into the race? Whether you were a senator or a congressman, a governor, or whatever you were, if you truly believed, as we see so many of them now saying, Donald Trump, I support you. Oh, you're the candidate. Then what the hell did you run for?
Right.
And why did you go and raise money, run against Donald Trump? You know, if you thought he was the best candidate, you should have stayed out of the race and just supported Donald Trump.
Well, I think you have a lot of these people that are trying to, audition for VP or cabinet positions. And again, it's very self-serving, as you said. I mean, I completely agree with you. I think that if you are against Donald Trump, you shouldn't be anywhere near Donald Trump. I think that we need to implement loyalty oaths. I don't know how you feel about this, but I personally think that there needs to be loyalty oaths and loyalty tests when President Trump wins re-election in 2024, because we can't allow for people to come back and, whisper some sweet something into President Trump's ear. And as much as I love and adore President Trump, you and I both know that Donald Trump, unfortunately, is a forgiving man. And you can have somebody who worked to screw him every day sideways for years on end. And as soon as they give him one compliment, right, they're like the best person in the world. And he seems to forget everything negative that they said about him. And I'm just worried that we're going to see things like this. And I'm actually horrified. I'm honestly horrified to see people like Reince Priebus and Ronna Romney's chief of staff controlling the convention for the RNC. And I'm horrified to see people who worked against President Trump be allowed back into the circle. And I just pray that we're not going to see these same snakes fill a second Trump administration. It's my greatest fear. My greatest fear, Corey, is that we're going to win in November, and then all those wins are going to mean nothing because we're going to have a second administration full of people that stabbed him in the back, which is what happened in 2017. Right? All the people that worked for Ted Cruz, all the people that worked against him were rewarded. They were given positions of power because, everybody wanted to sing Kumbaya and hold hands and pretend like we could unify with each other.
Well, look, that's absolutely true. And what do we see about 2.5 years into the administration? Donald Trump brought John McEntee in, one of the original guys. Johnny Mac was a guy who was an intern for us in New York, walked in the door and became the head of presidential personnel for the White House. And the media vilified him. Oh, this is a young kid who isn't capable of doing it. Johnny Mac knew who was with Donald Trump from the beginning. He put that test in place and went around and made sure that if you weren't going to support Donald Trump and his agenda, then you didn't have the opportunity to work in the White House. If they would have started under that premise in 2017 and not had to wait till 2019 to do it, we would have had a very different administration. We would have had a lot more people around Donald Trump who were loyal, who truly wanted to see America first agenda put in place, as opposed to these people who you've outlined, who have basically said, you know what, I'll be nice to you for 15 minutes, give me a job, and then they try and destroy us from within. We've seen it so many times, and we cannot allow that to happen going forward.
And you were there in 2016, so you can confirm, right? I mean, you can confirm that Sean Carencross did work against President Trump, right? I mean, I just want to set the record straight for people watching. Sean Carencross did or did not walk out on Hollywood Access Day on President Trump?
Oh, Laura, look, if he was the only one, I would say then, we've got a very small world, but it was much bigger than that. The reality is what we knew was transpiring back then is everybody was already blaming the Trump campaign for losing, right? They had predetermined that there was no path to win. And so RNC employees walked out. People who were up in New York got on the trains and went back to Washington, D.C., and members of the RNC's leadership at the time were literally going to the networks and saying, look at all the great things we did. And so Donald Trump is going to lose, but the blame isn't on us, it's on his team. So, that's what was transpiring. It's been widely talked about. It's been widely known. And what's disturbing to me is, to the point you've made, is these individuals who in 2016, when things get tough, and it wasn't just RNC employees, it was elected officials around the country who badmouthed Donald Trump, who said he wasn't fit for office, who are all trying to find their way back in, whether they want to be the Senate Majority Leader or they want his endorsement for some other position, right? All went out and told us how unfit he was to serve, and now they're all back. They're all back kissing his ass because they want something from him. And you've said it, and I've seen it. He is so incredibly forgiving. It troubles me. That's who he is. But the reality is, some of us, especially those of us who were there at the beginning, and there were so few of us, take such exception to that these elected officials, these staffers, they're just terrible.
Oh, I'm keeping a list, Corey. It would be an honor to work for President Trump, man. But I'll tell you, if I have a nickname, my nickname is going to be the Punisher, because I swear to God, I'm keeping a list. And I like to tell people, God might forgive, but I do not. God might forgive, but I do not. I'm going to put it on a t-shirt, because you know what? If you don't realize that Donald Trump is the greatest president this country's ever had, and you had such piss poor political judgment to work against him and support some of these other idiots like Nikki Haley and Ron DeSanctimonious, you deserve to have your political career ruined for the rest of your life. People might think you deserve a second chance. I don't believe in second chances. I don't believe in second chances for people that stab the man in the back they owe their entire political career to. Ron DeSantis would be a no-name congressman right now, still to this day, with a control freak wife if it wasn't for Donald Trump. Nikki Haley would still be a no-name, governor of South Carolina, anchor baby, because that's really what she is, honestly, with no political future, if it weren't for Donald Trump appointing her to the UN ambassador positionship and putting her on the spotlight on a national level. So all these people, they owe their political careers to Donald Trump, and it's just sickening to me. It's just sickening to me to see people coming back expecting to hop on the gravy train again. And so given what we just saw in Wisconsin this last weekend with no Trump signs, absolute failure by people on the ground, in the GOP in Wisconsin to support President Trump, what can people do watching? Because this is a show for Trump loyalists, right? Everybody watching, for the most part, loves Donald Trump. And I get messages every day, Corey, from people all across the country that are on the verge of having aneurysms because they are so freaked out and angry about the fact that delegates who are anti-Trump have been approved for delegate slates, that their state GOPs are not supporting Donald Trump. What can people do to prevent a disaster before the convention? And what are you going to do to make sure that Reince Priebus doesn't destroy this convention and sabotage Donald Trump with 6 months left? Because I don't trust Reince Priebus. I don't like Reince Priebus.
Let me tell you what we're doing. And what troubles me the most, Laura, is the people who you thought were on your team. Okay. So here in my home state of New Hampshire, we thought that we had, when the president was in office, there were a number of people who took positions in his administration, served for 4 years. We thought they were good people, only to find out that they're supporting Nikki Haley and writing their checks to Nikki Haley and never writing their checks to Donald Trump. Look, you want a good indication of who you're supporting? Go back and look at some of these individuals who are now kissing Donald Trump's ass and say, how much money have you given to him over the last 8 years? And the answer is zero. They gave to George W. Bush, or they gave to McCain, or they gave to some other candidate, but they gave zero to Donald Trump. And now they want to be back in the fold. So what have we done here in my home state of New Hampshire? Those individuals who decided to support Nikki Haley, who then said, hey, we want to come to the convention and we're all in with Trump. I just look at the list. I say, you gave money to Nikki Haley the day before the election or 2 days before the election. You were employed in the administration For 4 years, you had the opportunity to work for this great president. And now you want to come back? We're not interested. And look, you know what? I get accused all the time of being the bad guy. I'm okay being the bad guy. I really am, because you have to keep these people accountable. So we've told those people in my home state, you want to support Nikki Haley and you didn't get elected to be a Nikki Haley delegate? No problem. There's no room for you in the Trump campaign. There's no room for you at the Trump hotel. Don't bother coming to the convention.
So then I want to know, given that, you and I are clearly on the same page about this, right? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, those people should be physically banned from the convention. How do we then enforce loyalty to President Trump at the RNC and on the Trump campaign and fire the saboteurs? How do we create a loyalty oath and a loyalty test, and how do we enforce it? How do you enforce loyalty and fire saboteurs?
Well, you've done all of the homework that everybody else should already be doing. Look, people are stupid. They post everything to social media. It's not hard to go back and see what people have written. And if you're out there bashing Donald Trump, whether it was on, Billy Bush weekend, or it was following January 6th, or it was sometime because of a comment he made, then you don't get the privilege, which is what it is, the privilege to come and join the campaign or to come and work at the RNC. So listen, I think we have to utilize and maximize and review the social media like you are doing and exposing these people. And they can't deny it. It's their own words, because people are stupid. They have to put everything online, and that only comes back to bite them. And I love it because it shows who they really are. And if someone's going to tell you who they really are, you better listen. And that's what they're doing online.
Yeah, look, I agree. And that's why I get called the bad guy too. They say, oh, she's too crazy. And oh, why is President Trump talking to her? Why does he have her around him? Well, because President Trump values loyalty, and he's a smart guy. And I think that he values people that actually tell him the truth. And I think that people like you and I need to be the loyalty enforcers. I mean, we actually need to start punishing people. There needs to be serious punishment. There needs to be extreme accountability, in my opinion, for people in the Republican Party who are in positions of power who think that they're going to be making a payday when they have public social media posts, as you just pointed out, criticizing and attacking Donald Trump. And I think that that should be automatic disqualification. So hopefully we see that. Anything else you want to add, Corey? I know that the news broke, and I'm sure all your haters are just absolutely thrilled that you're back in President Trump's ear and at the RNC. I'm sure the RNC Ronna Romney holdovers are still absolutely thrilled
Laura,
that you're back.
I don't care what people think anymore. Like I'm so far beyond. I've been doing this for 10 years with this great candidate when nobody had any faith in him. I was the first employee. I'm proud to have been that person. I'm proud to have always been by his side to give him my honest opinion, whether I was paid to do it or as a volunteer or somewhere in between. He and I have such a great relationship because we're very honest with each other.
Yeah.
And I have a privilege to tell him what I think. Doesn't mean he's going to listen or do what I ask him or recommend, but I have that relationship. And I think if we can put people around him and they can have diverse opinions. And I've had the chance to see guys like Peter Navarro get into a screaming match with others in the administration because he didn't think they were, pro America first enough. And by the way, I love Peter, and what has happened to him has been a tragedy. We need people like that. We need people who are willing to stand up and fight for what Donald Trump believes in. And if you can't do that, that's not to say you can't respectfully disagree. But at the end of the day, when the decision is made and Donald Trump makes it, we're all on the same team. And if you want to undermine him, or you want to go out and chastise him or post things about him, there should be no place for you in the administration or on the campaign or anywhere else. There's too many great Americans out there whose last best hope is Donald Trump, and they would come and work for him for free just for the opportunity to try and fix this country.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it, and I would love to work for President Trump. But look, that's the thing. There's people that are making $30,000 a month at the RNC, and they hate President Trump. And there's people like me who are doing this for free. It's an honor of a lifetime to be able to support the greatest president ever and be a part of the greatest comeback history, the greatest comeback story in American political history. So given what you just said then, Corey, what are you going to be doing? What steps are you personally going to take over these next 6 months to get President Trump elected, knowing that you're walking in a minefield surrounded by snakes and leakers and liars and saboteurs. And let's just be honest, right? I mean, there's still a ton of people at the RNC, and unfortunately, some people even on Trump's campaign that really just don't have his best interest. So what are you going to do to push forward the agenda and to kind of navigate this minefield?
I'm going to try and do what I've always done, which is to have direct communication with Mr. Trump, with the president, to be honest, to tell him what I'm seeing. And when I see things that need to be changed, I have no problem telling him that. And I know it rattles some people, it bothers some people, it ruffles feathers. Many of these people most, if not all, weren't around when we started this project in January of 2015, or when Donald Trump and I met for the first time in April of 2014. Okay, so they weren't around, and it's okay to be a convert to Donald Trump. And not everyone was with us on day one, but it's going to be my job to make sure that he has the best advice possible around him, and that the people who are around him are doing everything humanly possible, like we did at the beginning when there was just 4 or 5 or 6 of us. We all put our reputations on the line when he was at 1% in the polls and said, we think this guy has something special. And now it's a lot easier to be on the team when he is just a juggernaut. And you see, the rally that he has today in the Bronx. But it's going to be my job, and it has always been, and I'll continue to do the best of my ability to have very honest conversations with him and tell him the truth, regardless of what other people want me to do. I think I've earned the privilege to be very candid with him.
And then what about securing our election from voter fraud? Because we have a lot of people in the comments right now. How many people? Let's see how many people we have watching live. I mean, we had over 100,000 people earlier watching my stream of President Trump's rally. We have 124,000 people watching live right now. So what are we going to do to prevent the election from being stolen? Because I always hear a lot of people, Corey, and again, thank you for being so gracious with your time tonight. They say things like, Donald Trump is so great. He's so amazing, is the best candidate, but they're going to steal it again. They're going to steal it like they did in 2020 because the RNC hasn't changed. They've done nothing to prevent voter fraud. A lot of the same people who don't even believe the election was stolen are still in power. What is the plan to prevent the election from being stolen again?
Well, let me tell you, Laura, you and your audience knows this. I was in Philadelphia the day after the election in 2020, screaming my head off, being threatened to be thrown in jail because I wanted to go and watch the ballots be separated from the envelopes, even though I had a court order in my hand that gave me the legal permission to do it. They threatened to put me in a Philadelphia jail for 3 days. And so, they wouldn't let me into that room. So here's the difference. When I walked into Philadelphia the day after the election in 2020, I told the team there, I said, I bring all the attorneys in, every attorney we've got on retainer. I want to know what's going on. I want to talk to them. One woman walked in the room. I said, no, I don't want to see one woman. Bring everybody in. What I propose is we get an animal, a guy, a killer like Ken Paxton. And we put Ken Paxton in charge of this operation. And we say, Ken, you're in charge, okay? Ken knows how to run things. For anyone who doesn't know, Ken Paxton is the Attorney General of Texas. That guy has taken a lot of lumps. He's a Trump supporter. He is somebody who knows how to make sure that the elections are done properly, because we don't have too many states that we have to worry about. We've got to worry about Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, right? We have a handful of states because by and large, in the places that are Republican areas, the elections are done properly, right? You don't hear about these problems that take place in the state of Texas, right? You hear about them in battleground states because the Democrats have a hold on the inner cities and they just decide that, hey, we've been stealing elections for years. What's one more? And my guess is they didn't have any expectation that Donald Trump was going to win in 2016, so they didn't go and try and steal it. 2024 has to be different. We need more attorneys on the ground. We need more accountability, and we have to make sure that these Zuckerbucks, the $400 million that Mark Zuckerberg put in, is never allowed to occur again.
Jr. has now officially secured funding to be on the ballots in all 50 states. You hear people say things like, oh, RFK is not going to take votes away from Donald Trump. He's going to take votes away from Joe Biden. Well, I don't really think that people understand that RFK Jr. doesn't actually want to win the election. He wants to create a contingent election. Do you think that people around President Trump need to smarten up to the strategy that is being deployed by RFK Jr.'s camp, and that he wants to prevent both Biden and Trump from reaching 270? Because it just seems to me like a very dangerous situation that nobody's taking seriously.
Yeah, look, RFK has no false notion that he's going to be the next president of the United States.
Yeah.
He's not pretending that he's going to win, right? He thinks that he can take enough votes away from Joe Biden to prevent him from winning certain states, and take enough votes away from Donald Trump to prevent him from winning certain states, which potentially gets you to either candidate not securing 270 electoral votes. So look, that's what the play is here. If that's the case, then what actually happens, and you know this, is that the House of Representatives gets to vote on who the president of the United States would be. They do
Contingent
that by
election.
delegation.
Yes, contingent
That's
election
exactly
by
right.
delegation. And then that's why, in my opinion, I think that you have people like Kevin McCarthy and a lot of these rhinos intentionally staging their early exits, because we currently have a 1-seat majority. And I think that a lot of these people, it's not a surprise that a lot of the people that supported the motion to vacate against Speaker Johnson were all people who endorsed Ron DeSantis for the most part in Congress. And look, I support, the removal of Mike Johnson, but not right now, not when we have a 1-seat majority. If we had maybe, a 10 or 15 seat majority, but with the removal of the Speaker of the House, right, who would likely then resign out of disgrace, you then give control back over to Hakeem Jeffries, who then would become the Speaker of the House. And in the case of a contingent election, I don't think a lot of people understand this. It's in our Constitution. You wouldn't get Trump. You wouldn't get Biden. You wouldn't even get RFK. They could appoint somebody like President Nancy Pelosi or an AOC or an Ilhan Omar. They could even appoint Alex Soros to be president of the United States. In fact, according to the Constitution, it doesn't even need to be an elected official or somebody on the ballot. Perhaps you can speak to that, because I think that RFK Jr., especially with all the funding he's getting now to be on the ballot in all 50 states, I think that the possibility of a contingent election is becoming more of a reality every single day.
Well, it could be, but Laura, what do we see today in the state of Ohio? Right? Joe Biden did not qualify to be on the ballot in Ohio, and Republican Governor Mike DeWine has called a special session to make sure that Joe Biden is on the ballot. Can you imagine any Democrat governor in America calling a special session to make sure that Donald Trump is on the ballot? Give me a break. Look, if the Biden campaign is so inept that they didn't qualify to be on the ballot in Ohio, then shame on them. Why are we doing them a service by having to call a special session? I mean, this is lunacy. It's just complete lunacy. And I'll tell you what, look, Speaker Johnson, I don't envy his position. He has a 1-vote majority. I think if we had 10 or 15 vote majority, we would probably have a guy by the name of Speaker Jordan. Maybe Jimmy Jordan would be the Speaker of the House. It would be a very different dynamic. And so, we have to go and add our seats to the majority. We have to take back the U.S. Senate. There's no question about it. We have to throw a guy like John Tester out. We have to make sure that Sherrod Brown from Ohio doesn't get reelected. We have opportunities to win in many places. But then we also have to make sure, Laura, and here's what we did when Donald Trump came in, the first 4 years, we listened to Mitch McConnell and John Thune, and they screwed us for the first 2 years of the Trump administration, right? That's what happened. We cannot allow that again. When Donald Trump wins, and if we have majorities in the House and the Senate, we have to take advantage of that immediately and get the Trump agenda through, which is the opportunity that we missed in 2017 and 2018.
Absolutely. And as you pointed out, we have currently 12 Republican United States senators who have refused to endorse Donald Trump. I think that, they need a fire lit under their ass, because I think it's unacceptable for any elected Republican to not be publicly supporting President Trump. With that, Corey, any last words, anything you want to leave with the viewers? I'm very excited that you've been brought back on. I think that, President Trump needs loyalists who are whispering in his ear and having direct communication with him, because, I've seen it up close and in person. A lot of the really important things that he needs to know about are just not being told to him. And, it's unfortunate. Anything you want to say?
I just want to say thank you for having me. And look, the more you continue to do to expose those people around Donald Trump who shouldn't be, the easier it is for us to tell him about that. And so the work that you are doing, which has led to exposing individuals who shouldn't be there, has been a welcome relief to many of us. I don't know where you find the information, but it's unassailable. The information that you post has never been called into question because you do your homework, you get the right work done. And there are so many of us that are grateful for that. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. And, like you, I was there from day one. So a lot of people don't know this about me, but I am good at what I do because, I'm a trained investigator. I am an investigative journalist, and I spent my entire 2015 and 2016 undercover living in New York City, embedded in the Hillary Clinton campaign, working as an undercover operative with hidden cameras for James O'Keefe and Project Veritas, exposing Hillary Clinton's campaigns. And my videos were used by President Trump during the debates, and they were used to expose Hillary Clinton and her advisors and the fraud that they were attempting. And Anderson Cooper even described some of my investigations as the biggest October surprise of the 2016 election season at Project Veritas. So, I know what it's like to be a day one Trump loyalist because I was a day one Trump loyalist. I got to shake President Trump's hand the night that he won and he beat Hillary Clinton in New York City. And it's something that I'll never forget. And I've been with President Trump, and I will always be with President Trump. I don't give a damn if they send President Trump to jail. I will vote for President Trump from a jail cell and handcuff myself to the door of the jail that he's jailed in. That's how much of a ride or die I am. I have been arrested in support of President Trump twice, doing activism, supporting him when nobody else had the backbone or the balls to do it. And so, like you, I don't care what people say about me. I don't care if people think I'm crazy. I don't care if people think I'm too aggressive or too brash because, a lot of people in the Republican Party, they don't have what it's going to take. They don't have the testicular fortitude or the intestinal fortitude, for that matter, to really make the tough decisions that are going to need to be made, Corey, over these next 6 months to get President Trump in. And I know that you're one of them. So I want to thank you for your loyalty to President Trump. And I want to thank you for everything you're doing to, help expose these traitors and these saboteurs to President Trump. And I look forward to seeing what you accomplish with him over these next 6 months.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Where do people follow you?
Look, just go to X. It's _C. It's C Lewandowski _ simple. It's if I post, I usually post to X because I try and stay away from the other tech platforms because I'm kind of an Elon guy and he's been good to us.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we'll be sure that everybody follows you, Corey Lewandowski, on X. And again, Corey Lewandowski, thank you so much for coming on Loomer Unleashed. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. So you heard it from him, you guys. It's not just me speaking out about all these saboteurs at the RNC. Corey Lewandowski is now officially back on board, and he's going to be assisting with the convention. So people better get in line fast because it just seems like a lot of these saboteurs are going to be exposed whether they like it or not. So I would really suggest that people get in line with President Trump's agenda because if you don't, well, it's probably going to end very badly for you. You're probably going to become, an internet sensation overnight. I don't know how that's going to happen, but some way, somehow it will. So if you're watching and you work for the RNC and you're one of these people who is anti-Trump or, you think you're going to get away with leaking and lying and sabotaging President Trump, well, you're not going to get away with it because there's a lot of us who are watching and we're willing to do whatever it takes. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how nasty, how mean, how aggressive, or how, inappropriate you might think it is. Some of us are willing to cross lines that other people aren't willing to cross in order to expose the people that are sabotaging President Trump. And I'm one of those people. So I don't work for President Trump. So no one's going to fire me. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do. And you know what? I'm going to get away with it too. And I'm going to get away with saying whatever the hell I want to say because like I said, I don't work for President Trump. I'm my own woman. I'm my own independent person working out here every single day to support President Trump and his America First agenda. I'm a woman on a mission, and I'm not going to allow for anybody to get in the way of us saving our country by sabotaging Donald Trump. So with that, before I bring on my next guest, who's going to talk to us about this incredible rally that we just saw President Trump have in the Bronx, I want to take a moment to thank the sponsor of Loomer Unleashed tonight. That's 1775 Coffee. Are you a sleepy Joe who has zero cognitive performance, scared of walking upstairs without being worried you're going to fall down? Do you struggle to muster the focus and the brain power for the basic things in life, such as eating ice cream or riding a bike? Well, you need to stop drinking woke liberal coffee and start your day by drinking Rumble's very own 1775 coffee. Never mind that it will be the best tasting coffee you have ever had in your life, as in seriously good. It's also ethically sourced from a family farm in the high altitude mountains of Bolivia. You can take a look here at their website, 1775coffee.com. It's great coffee. I drink it. So instead of waking up tomorrow morning and drinking your mold-infested, big corporation-owned woke ideology coffee that is probably making you sick from the pesticides it's sprayed with, try Rumble's 1775 coffee, support freedom of speech, and build a parallel economy that actually values you. Go to 1775coffee.com/Loomer right now and pick up your first bag. 1775coffee.com. Use code FRESH at checkout when you use code 1775coffee.com/Loomer, and then you're going to use code FRESH at checkout to save 10% off your first order. My favorite roast, depending on how sleepy I am, right? So most of the time it's medium. Sometimes it's dark, but I will say that the pea berry also tastes very good. So you have some variety there. It really just depends on what you're in the mood for that day. You're not going to regret it for a moment. So level up your morning routine with a bag of 1775 coffee and sleep well at night, knowing that your hard-earned dollars are going towards supporting freedom-loving creators like me on Rumble and not the woke mob, okay? You get to support free speech, your favorite creators, and you know, look, Rumble is really doing a great service to the world with this free speech platform. So again, that's 1775coffee.com/Loomer, code FRESH at checkout for up to 10% off. Let them know that Laura Loomer sent you. So you may have seen tonight, hopefully you did. Hopefully you watched it. If not, you really missed quite a show. President Trump had an amazing rally tonight in the Bronx, and we streamed it live here on Loomer Unleashed. If you were working and busy and you didn't have a chance to watch it, you want to go back and watch it because it's just so amazing. I mean, you know, the Democrats must be sitting there losing their minds watching all these black people get up on stage. They have like rappers and I mean, all types of people, right? But I mentioned the black people and the rappers because people were like, oh, why is Donald Trump going to the Bronx? Black people don't like Donald Trump. Hispanics don't like Donald Trump. And all you saw were blacks and Hispanics taking to the stage at this rally talking about how they're not voting for Democrats anymore. You had black and Hispanic rappers who were literally, you know, dancing outside, vibing with the 25,000 people in line. And the videos have just gone so viral. People literally writing rap songs. You have old white ladies like literally dancing to rap songs. It's just the funniest thing you're ever going to see. But I say this because, you know, President Trump has this ability to make people do things that they otherwise wouldn't do, to bring people together for new experiences, right? I mean, I'm sure like some of these older boomer types that are that were there today in the park have never really danced to rap music before, but they found themselves dancing to rap music outside of a Trump rally. And so, you know, there's a lot of people who came together. The brainchild really of this rally was my friend Gavin Wax. And I know Raheem Kassam, another one of my friends, praised Gavin. Gavin actually received a shout out from President Trump tonight from the stage. So congratulations to Gavin for that. That's very exciting. But there are a lot of people in the community who have been speaking out about how black people need to flood the polls this November in support of President Donald Trump and to leave the Democrat plantation, as they call it. And one of those people who's doing a fantastic job getting black people out to the polls to leave the Democrat Party and to vote in support of Donald Trump is Dion Powell, a district leader in the Bronx Conservative Party, who also was one of the organizers of the Trump rally in the Bronx today. So joining me now is Dion Powell. Dion, thanks so much for coming on Loomer Unleashed tonight. It's great to have you here. Can't hear him. Oh, are you? I think you might be. I think you need to take your earbuds out if you have them because you're muted. We can't hear you. Let's see. We're going to give him a minute.
How about now? I keep myself
okay,
on mute.
I can hear you. Yes. Yes.
I don't want you to hear me up behind me.
It's okay. It's all part of the experience. So again, Dion, welcome to Loomer Unleashed tonight. It's great to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And as soon as I heard you say sabotaging Donald Trump's campaign, I knew I was in the right place.
Oh, yeah. You know, like we just have to talk all about the sabotage because that's what's happening, right? You have so many people that want to sabotage, including in New York. I mean, look, I know that, President Trump has to go and he's got to give shout outs to people. Some of those people on stage were not so deserving of some shout outs, but, you know, internal politics in the New York Republican Party. I think there's a lot of rhinos there. A lot of those people behave more like Democrats than Republicans, of course.
That's right.
I think Donald Trump knows that. He's not a stupid guy. I think at the end of the day, a lot of these rallies, you know, you got to give some people shout outs. I suppose I wouldn't personally, but some of those people, I was just sitting there looking at the screen like, ooh, I don't really think they are deserving of a Trump shout out. But
Agreed.
you really have been making a lot of waves recently. You've been speaking out a lot about Kathy Hochul, her comments about how black kids in the Bronx don't know what a computer is. You've been speaking out about AOC, saying the quiet part out loud when she says that Donald Trump basically has like a judicial ankle bracelet around him that's preventing him from campaigning. And you really have become quite a force of nature in the Bronx and in New York City, waking people up for your movement, which you call Black Lives MAGA. Tell us about that.
Yes, and today I got this bad boy on, which is Black Votes Matter. So a lot's going on. Thank you so much for this. I've seen you around. You were in the streets with us outside of District Attorney Office Bragg's office. I've come across you with CPAC. I'm like, who is this person? But people in our respective circles speak very highly of you. So thank you so much for this. Now, this comes about months ago in the making, in November, from Kara Kashanova, Newsmax, all those other people have been fighting in the streets. She came here to the Bronx. She interviewed us. We love Trump. Gavin Wax, you mentioned earlier, showed it to him at the New York City Republican Gala. He says, great, I want to come to the Bronx. It kept spiraling and snowballing, and we followed it today. I just ran here. I had several interviews. The Bronx Assorted Party just has a reception here in Little Italy at my friend's African restaurant here on Arthur Avenue, and we're going to keep doing the work.
And so what was the rally like today? Because it looked amazing. I mean, 25,000 people in support of President Trump outside. I mean, there was an overflow area. It just looked incredible. The energy just seemed amazing. And, you know, I live in Florida, of course, so there's a lot of rain, as you can imagine. And so I've been at Trump rallies where there's been extreme weather. I was in Iowa where it was -40, literally -40 degrees. And you know, people were waiting in line. I felt like my hands were going to burn off because they were so cold.
Nice.
And the same thing we saw today in New York. It was pouring with rain, and yet thousands of people were waiting in line for over 8 hours to get a glimpse of President Trump. Have you ever seen anything like this in the Bronx before?
No, this is decades in the making here in the Bronx. And actually, it rained and poured on the Democrats that were trying to protest us this morning. So if you look at their, sad video of them protesting with like 8 people, Congressman Richie Torres and the rest of the gang, they're the ones who got rammed up. But it's very beautiful. It was like Star Wars. We had people from all over the country come a day earlier. Since 2 o'clock in the morning, there are freaking cheers lined up like they're about to see the 1977 edition of Star Wars. Nothing but love. And, I protected my people on social media. I blasted out elected officials, all the nonprofits on their flyer. I put their EIN numbers up. I put opensecrets.org up, and I aired them out. Just like you mentioned earlier with Project Veritas, doing some great work too. I put them on blast, and nobody showed up. Nothing but love from the Bronx. People driving by, honking horns, coming in the rally themselves. We signed them up real time on our phones to register for the rally, and it was great.
So what do you think? You're in New York. As you mentioned, we had some interactions in New York. I saw you out there with my crew when we were out there covering the Trump trial the first day, and you were out there outside the courthouse. How are people, in New York especially, but especially in the minority community, responding to the attacks on President Trump? Because, a lot of people have made the argument that members of the Black community have disproportionately been, affected by the criminal justice system and these crime bills, many of which were designed by Joe Biden and the Democrats. And so you have a track record with Donald Trump, who has always been an advocate for criminal justice reform. Do you think that these indictments and the fact that he has a mugshot now, which I'm wearing on my shirt tonight,
Yep.
and the fact that
Nice.
he's getting targeted by the same DAs and the same attorney generals that have oftentimes terrorized these minority communities, is it making him more relatable, or are minority voters looking down upon Donald Trump as some type of criminal?
We love Donald Trump. He's just like us, caught up in the justice system. Our district attorneys here, our attorney generals with the bail reform laws, let more criminals out that hurt the minority communities. Because where are they going to go? The minority communities. It's not going to go to the Upper West Side or the Hamptons. You know what I mean? So, for example, your T-shirts. We had a few brothers that I know personally who've come home, and I had them out there selling T-shirts from their shopping cart, MAGA hats. So you see all these black people doing the vending out there today's rally. Some of them I knew. Also, when it comes to criminal justice, Donald Trump has pardoned a lot of people. There's a gentleman that I met today, Lou Dobbs, who he pardoned from Brooklyn. Mike Tyson's friend called me. He said, I want to see Donald Trump. And then also people who don't like Donald Trump, the obsession with him, the TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, so blatant. It's like, well, the news, we have bigger problems than Donald Trump. We don't like this guy. We may not vote for him, but we have wars going on. Not only Donald Trump. These migrants are in the shelter system, getting debit cards, fast track to housing, all the fixings, and we're still stuck there. So a lot of people are like very, very angry in the Bronx because we are the central hub of poverty of New York City. The number one in shelters. We're getting 2 prison systems thanks to Rikers Island closing. That was a great idea. The Bronx is getting 2 of those extensions here, and we're fed up. Actuality, with the Bronx Conservative Party, we helped last year elect our first Republican city council person in 40 years. A lot of people don't know that, and she's in the heart of AOC's district. That's why these people are concerned. That's why they're out in the rain protesting. And Kathy Hochul's comments really sealed the deal at our pre-Black Patriots rally last Saturday to support President Trump.
So are you doing a lot of voter registration? How are you turning this enthusiasm in the Black community into votes for President Trump? Because there's a lot of talk about how New York and New Jersey are in play, of course, which is why the Democrats are, freaking
he needs
out.
The right people around them.
Yeah. And so this is why, of course, the Democrats are freaking out. And you have people like AOC and Hakeem Jeffries saying, go home, we don't want you here, or that, he's not popular in the Bronx. He's certainly more popular than they are. I saw video footage from AOC's town hall the other night, and like 5 people showed up, and, like 25,000 people showed up to Donald Trump. So I don't know, like maybe she should speak for herself when she's talking about who's not popular. Are you doing voter registration? What are you doing to actually convert this enthusiasm in the Black community for Trump to votes?
And actually under the Bronx Conservative Party leadership, we did something different. Voter registration is a gimmick we've seen forever. And we're like, wait a minute. So last year in January, what I did was we went into projects, Throgsneck projects, and we did something called voter re-registration and education. Now, what does that mean? We take our voter registration form in the projects door to door. We show them question 14 on the voter registration form. There are 4 political parties in New York State: Democrat, Republican, Conservative Party, and Working Families Party. They say, hey guys, you're fed up, right? Well, here's a third party, Conservative Party. How would you join us? Oh, I didn't know I could change my voter registration. And, I thought I was Black. I had to automatically become a Democrat. Some sad, but once you do the voter re-registrations in education to the Conservative Party, everybody feels welcome. Because some people in my culture are so programmed that Republicans are so evil that it's like, well, what choice do we have? But then once we show them the Conservative Party, we start doing the work. Those votes on paper by voter registration and by voter data were enough to push the Republican to victory last year through something called cross-party endorsement. So it's possible.
And then, of course, then you advocate for the Republican candidates on the ballot?
Yes, because of cross-party endorsement, our votes are added up to Republicans and they push the Republicans to the top. For example, President Trump is on both the Republican line and the Conservative Party line here in New York.
Wonderful. And what kind of reception are you receiving from people? Are you getting people that are eager to change their registration from Democrat to Conservative? Or are you finding that most people have never voted before and are first-time voters?
No, everybody's registered to vote in the Bronx. We are the most Democratic county in America per capita, yet always the poorest county in America. But these people can't see it. So everybody's registered to vote and programmed to vote by their family at 18 for Democrat. Because, people die for the vote. But yeah, once you show them that form and make it real for them in black and white, there are more than 2 parties. You can do it. You can do it online. Just check this box. Look what we're doing here in the community. they can't leave fast enough because they didn't know they could update it or change parties.
And what about these narratives that the Democrats are trying to push? I mean, Joe Biden is spending millions of dollars this week on ads on television, and they're running an ad trying to say that Donald Trump is a Nazi and accusing him of being a racist. Do you find that that's just a tired talking point now? Do you think that Black people and Hispanic people that you're encountering are immune to those words now that have lost meaning? Or do you think that there's still a large amount of minority voters who are brainwashed into thinking that Donald Trump is somehow a racist? Because I feel like everywhere I go, I was outside of the jail in Fulton County when President Trump, was arrested when this mugshot was taken. And most of the people who were there were Black. And they were in Georgia. They were not buying this narrative that President Trump was a racist. And I was talking to them, right? And I asked them what they thought about it. And I don't really feel like that talking point is working anymore. So it seems like the Democrats are just flushing their money down the toilet. But then again, I don't live in the Bronx, and you're there, so I wanted to kind of pick your brain and see whether you're seeing the same thing that I saw in Georgia.
Oh, nothing but love for Donald Trump from the new generation, Black men especially, who have been affected by Joe Biden's policies and Kamala Harris's policies in California, which is the Attorney General. But it's always the old guard and what we call now the Black misleadership. That's the problem, who are stuck in their ways, but getting so much access to all the goodies that really keep them there. The Black church, for example. The Black church, believe it or not, according to some of my favorite YouTubers, is like the only where in America where church and state actually meet. A lot of people don't realize that. And it's very sad, but we're starting to see through it. And thanks to the COVID lockdowns, a lot of Black people are being red-pilled, especially by the mainstream media. And one of the things people have to remember, no matter if you hate Trump, every time Trump is fact-checked in the mainstream media, it triggers people to the lockdown. Like, wait a minute, I was fact-checked too when I posted something on social media. I ended up in Facebook bail, or I may have said something and then I got blocked by the independent, fact-checking contractors. So that's something so simple, that they can relate to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's just making him more relatable because they're making him relate to experiences that everyday people have had, and people that otherwise didn't feel like they could connect with a politician or connect with a candidate are finding that they have little things in common with Donald Trump, whether it be censorship or, being harassed by law enforcement or being harassed by our judicial system or, being attacked or feeling that they've been a victim of some kind of unjust treatment. So I definitely think that these attacks and these indictments are only making him more popular. I mean, you've seen it too outside of the courthouse when you've been there, outside of the trial. There's been people flying banner planes over the courthouse, and you just never have seen anything like this. How long have you lived in New York? And would you say that? Well, let me just ask you: how long have you lived in New York? Your whole life?
Born and raised in South Bronx. My father's house was a few blocks away from the park, so nothing but love. Let people use the bathroom and receive them very well.
So you have lived there for a very long time, and you were there probably, 2016, 2020, and now 2024. Did you see this kind of energy for President Trump in 2016 and 2020, or is this kind of new revitalization of support in the Black community for President Trump that we're seeing in 2024?
Well, in 2016 was a buildup for Trump. People were starting to break, but they couldn't really do it on paper because Hillary Clinton was so disrespectful and overconfident that it was like, nah. But Trump, his swagger, as it were, him encountering the Republican Party, making everybody look stupid, and just being Trump. Because a lot of people here forget Donald Trump is actually a New Yorker. So that's basically you in the White House. I know people that went to school in Forest Hills with Donald Trump as a kid. So here people got it. And there's certain Black people, especially Black men, we saw Donald Trump with Mike Tyson, who to this day will refuses to call him a racist, and how everybody started turning on him. Fast forward to 2020 during the election, even in New York State, I'll say it, there was a little voter fraud, suppression, and disenfranchisement with that race. But it's like, all right, we get it. The COVID situation started waking up Black America, but then we started seeing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and we're like, wait a minute. Joe Biden has 40 years in office. His policies hurt us. But because of social media and the mainstream media, all that was swept on the rug. I know people personally that try to put some of those Joe Biden old videos where he said, I don't care if they have social problems. And the social media algorithm actually fact checked them and removed all that material. So it just became stronger. Then the war happened and migrants started happening. It's like, wait a minute, Donald Trump was right because he was consistent. War. He was consistent. No wars. I'll go see Spaceman in North Korea and calm him down. And as they say, peace comes through strength.
Absolutely. I want to open the opportunity up to the chat to ask some questions. We're going to go ahead and play some clips from the rally, and I want to get your comment on these clips from the Trump rally in the Bronx. But if you have any questions in the chat for Dion or for me, go ahead and post your comments in the chat now. And we're going to play these clips first, and then we'll come back and we'll talk to the members of the chat. Let's go ahead and play. Let's see. There's so many amazing clips. Let's see. Let's play clip number 10, the pro-Trump urban youth show out for Trump rally in the Bronx. I thought that this was really, really telling, and it just goes to show you, that there's all types of people who support President Trump, and I thought that this was probably one of the more viral clips from the rally today. Let's go ahead and play it.
I stand with Trump, I stand with Trump. United we stand, divided we fall. Indict our president, you better indict us all. United we stand, okay, divided we fall. Indict our president, you better indict us all. Who lucky we, I just snuck across the border. Nah, I came in the right way. Come on, take the moon and talk to the reporters. We got Senorita Elvina with a head cold demons better know they dying young. I'm riding around Miami, getting chauffeured in the dawn. Yeah, I'm going there, no, let's get along. United we stand, we play together, we're strong. Yeah, it's time to stand on this. Hey, back up, son. Back up a little bit. Ever since I saw my buddy, they put me on the hit list. I stand with Trump, I stand with Trump. I stand with Trump, I stand with Trump.
Beautiful. I know two of those guys in that thing. The guy with the sunglasses. Yeah, besides the sunglasses was Joey Chills. The guy with the Dominican flag, that's DVS. Check those brothers out, doing great work. And Latinos for Trump, they actually came all the way from Florida, and they let's jump in the crowd, grab the mic. If you look at those T-shirts, that's Trump's merch and Trump branding right there. Having people come out with their shopping carts, everybody buying and selling. It was nothing but love.
I know Forgiato too. Forgiato's a friend of mine, so I know Forgiato well. He's out of Florida too. He's a cool guy. So that's good that they came out to support him. And look, it was so funny too. I mean, just like the Democrats must be having an aneurysm, right? Because you have like rappers that are literally getting tattoos of Trump tattooed on their face. And, they're getting Trump tattooed on their, like the word Trump tattooed on their face. They're getting Trump, like I know 4G's got a Trump tattoo on his leg. And he's got Trump on his car. Like his truck is literally wrapped with Trump's face. He has like an actual tattoo.
That's right.
Of
it was there.
Trump. And the Democrats must be having an aneurysm because, you have these people, you have rappers that were invited on stage by Donald Trump, and he's like actually introducing them by their rapper names, and people are just losing their minds. The Democrats are in total meltdown crisis mode right now because you have Hillary Clinton talking about how she carries her hot sauce everywhere she goes to communicate with black people. And then you have Joe Biden saying that you're not black if you don't vote for Joe Biden. And then you have Kathy Hochul saying that black kids in the Bronx don't know what the word computer is. And then you have black rappers making rap songs for Donald Trump and getting his face tatted on their bodies. Just, I've never seen anything like it before.
This is phenomenal. Some of those people you mentioned earlier, disgusting people. And what's sad about them is that it comes from a genuine place. That's what's so dangerous about it, because they're so accustomed to that, perverse white guilt. So Kathy Hochul is another person we put on blast at the Black Patriots for Trump rally last Saturday, which had a lot of love too as well. And one of the things I did personally too, because I'm also the assistant state director of Blexit New York, by the way, is that when I spoke out, I said, hey, Kathy Hochul, you are in charge of the biggest educational system in the country. So
we have that video, actually. Do you want us to just go ahead and play that video? So I had that video pulled of you speaking at the rally. Wow. Yeah, because, I really just love this video so much. And I thought you did such a great job putting her ass on blast. So I want to just go ahead, if you don't mind, because you were about to explain it. But I just feel like the video speaks for itself, and it's such an incredible video. I just want to go ahead and play it. So let's go ahead and play this clip because this was from your Black Patriots United rally last weekend in the Bronx in anticipation for President Trump's rally today. Let's play the clip.
We're here to address Governor Kathy Hochul. Now, who knows what about Governor Kathy Hochul? What did she say about our Bronx kids? They don't know what a computer is, right? Well, we're here to tell them not only do they know what a computer is, they know what books are. Do everybody see this book?
What's the title?
Unfortunately, the mothers that I invited here couldn't be here today.
What's the title?
This title of this book that we have in our libraries here, the title is If You're a Drag Queen and You Know It.
Oh my God.
By Little Miss Hot Mess. So, if you're from the Bronx and you go to the Bronx Fordham Library Center, the biggest in the Bronx, or any of our libraries and in schools, make sure you guys, clergy, parents, and stakeholders, look out for these books because our children know what a computer is, but we don't want them to know what this is. Am I right? All right. Okay, all right. You translate this, man. Okay. The reason we're all here is to support President Donald Trump, and I'm also the Assistant State Director of Blexit. Yay! Black Exit, the Democratic plantation mentality of thinking, and we're here to say that Black lives, Black lives, Black lives. Thank you very much, family. So we're calling out our Black misleadership today here in the Bronx, and we're getting so many people on the Trump train. But we're here to address Kathy Hochul, and since the Bronx is the bluest county in America, yet always the poorest county in America, we're making a few changes. Thanks to the Bronx Conservative Party, we have our first Republican elected in 40 years, thanks to the Bronx Conservative Party. I think we should get... And we're going to keep it going with Donald Trump. And now we have a little chant in the South Bronx. It's called Don't Vote Democrat. Don't vote Democrat. Don't vote Democrat. Don't vote Democrat. I'm District Leader Dion Powell of the 78th Pacific District with the Bronx County Conservative Party, here to support Donald Trump. We'll see you at Cortona Park next week, Thursday. Thank you.
So that's really great. I mean, I'm sure you have the Democrats literally shitting their pants because they must, they must be so terrified of the crowds you're able to generate and the fact that you have so many people, Black people, literally chanting, don't vote Democrat, Black Lives MAGA. And you're co-opting their phrase of Black Lives Matter, which is really just amazing.
Same methodology they use on us.
Yeah, the same thing they do. They try to co-opt our language.
That's right. The Democrats are so mad they're going to have a baby, but they're going to abort it first. Isn't that something? So yeah, exactly. I want to give a shout out to some people behind me. Derek Gibson, whose brainchild.
Oh my God, I love Derek. Derek's my buddy. You know, Derek and I go way back. When I used to live in New York, I handcuffed myself to Twitter HQ, and Derek and his daughter Diamond, they came out and they supported me. Derek and I were out in Fulton County, Georgia together supporting President Trump. He is an amazing man. He is so funny. And the movement that he has as well has really, energized so many people. The work he does to get people registered, and he goes into Black communities and he travels on his own dime across the country. Derek Gibson is an amazing man.
That's right. And the lady with the sunglasses is Madeline Brame, our state director here at Lexington, New York. You may see her on Fox News all the time fighting criminal justice. And in the blue shirt is Patrick McManus, our chairman. And the people in the crowd were Blexit members of the Bronx Conservative Party, and Ora Moody herself, who shouted. She's the Afro-Latina that curses out a lot of liberals here in New York City about the dangers, because she's from Venezuela, of communism, socialism. So it was a great crowd, very diverse, and nothing but love. The Proud Boys are there, and they're my friends too. I'm not scared to say it. People I know who are January 6th, my friend, shout out Danny Kreisman, who just got locked up last week for January 6th. One of my good friends and advisors. So it's all great. So we're all here breaking and they're changing the narrative for African Americans.
And wow, I'm surprised. You know, they like to say the Proud Boys are a bunch of white supremacists, right? But, you know, exactly. Yeah. And the chairman, Enrique Tarrio, who's getting locked up for over 20 years for J6, he wasn't even there. He's half black and half Hispanic. So, you know, it just shows the absolute insanity as well. We have some more clips as well. Let's see. Crowd cheering at the Bronx rally. Let's see. Let's play clip number... See, we have so many clips. Which ones do I want to show? We have, let's play clips of President Trump at the rally and more people cheering. Here we have this clip right here of Gavin. Let's see. We have so many clips. Let's see which ones we're going to show. We could play this clip too. Let's play this clip. There's so many clips to sift through. This one is President Trump talking about the impact of illegal immigration on the black community in the Bronx.
Oh. And these millions and millions of people that are coming into our country, the biggest impact and the biggest negative impact is against our black population and our Hispanic population, who are losing their jobs, losing their housing, losing everything they can lose. And these millions.
What do you think about that? I mean, you already kind of touched on it in the beginning of this interview, too. You said that they're intentionally bringing these migrant camps and, you know, the line for Section 8 housing, too, which, you know, we see in a lot of these communities. It's no surprise, right, that they have this, you know, Section 8 housing in the black community and the Hispanic communities in New York and in Chicago and all major cities. The waiting list, I think this is what Lynn Patton told me, who was working for HUD during the Trump administration. We had Lynn Patton on the show. And nice. Lynn's a great woman. And she said that if we were to make it so that illegal aliens were not allowed to get Section 8 housing, and they're, according to Lynn, taking up majority of the Section 8 housing in a lot of these cities, the waiting list would go from 8 years to 1 year. The waiting list right now is over 8 years for Section 8 housing for some of these people that can't afford housing, that are trying to get in. And if you were to make it so that illegal aliens couldn't qualify and you started mass deporting these people like President Trump has promised to do, I mean, imagine that. 8 years to 1 year. And in New York City, I was just there, you know. I was just in New York City. And I was at City Hall, and there were 1,000 African invaders from Guinea and Sudan and other parts of Africa who were there trying to demand work permits because they were illegal aliens, okay? And they said that the amount of aid that's going to go towards the American homeless population in New York City for this fiscal year is $4 billion. They're allocating $12 billion for the illegal alien population. So over $8 billion more for the illegal aliens in New York City than the homeless people in America who are living on the streets of New York City. I mean, it's just so unbelievable. And I don't know about you, but I could imagine there's a lot of resentment building up in the black community over the fact that, you know, a lot of hardworking black Americans are being sidelined for illegal aliens.
That's right. You know, I know a lot of people that help them for free. And you got to remember, the Bronx is dumped on because we are like the number one when it comes to nonprofits. Now, that's very key because they make so much money off our poverty and our behavior and all the health issues we have here as a result. And that's where we have the most homeless shelters. So that's what I mean. The more social services. Grants are designed not to work. They're only designed to perpetuate the problem to get more grant money. If homelessness goes down, heaven forbid, that means the grant money and funding goes away. So why would you want homelessness to go away? The more homelessness is, the more money it is, the more big business there is for social services. I'm disgusted myself with a master's degree, how many people make more money than me that have a KSAC or a substance abuse certificate. You know what I mean? And that's the way it is. So the migrants are actually a big payday for a lot of people, a lot of agencies, and a lot of white guilt like Kathy Hochul to come here and save us and know what's best. You know, and that's a huge disrespect and cyber-craze to Black America across the board. Mark Carter, who's in Chicago, who you may see go viral and say, hey, we ain't no BIPOC. This brother out there is AMI2 in Chicago. And we all know there's no Republicans there either. So what's the problem here? So once again, we push aside, overlooked, downtrodden, and the same narrative, but we're breaking. We're uniting with people from the far right, far left that have been red-pilled, and we're coming for the ballot box this November to support who? Donald Trump.
People really like you, Dion. I'm in the chat. People said Dion Powell for New York City mayor.
I'm actually running for state senate and some other things I do, so I'm very big on civic education and engagement.
They want you to replace Eric Adams.
People want me to do that. Somebody's mom prophesied that I'll be mayor next cycle.
Maybe. You might. You never know. Crazier things have happened, right? They said that
Right
Donald
now,
Trump
actually.
wouldn't be president. You never know.
Exactly.
People are saying BLM, Black Lives MAGA, the new BLM. I love it. That's great. They love that you're stealing Black Lives Matter and making it Black Lives MAGA. Someone said Kathy Hochul, Heaven Tay said Kathy Hochul is a racist. I cannot believe she made such a horrible comment about black students. Yeah, she's a racist. They're all racist, though. They really are. Let's see. A lot of people just hate Kathy Hochul. Anybody else have any more comments or questions? Feel free to post them in the chat. Dion, anything else you want people to know? Today it was an amazing rally. It was an incredible show of support for President Trump. There's so much support for President Trump, and I really feel like this is it for our country. If he doesn't get back into office, this is it. There's so many people struggling in America. I'm sure you see it in the Bronx too, just to get by, just to survive, just to afford rent, just to afford food. People are really having a hard time getting by. What's your message to people who, haven't made up their minds yet about who they're voting for?
Well, one of the things I take myself, because I lead by example, is I finally left the Democrats. What broke me was education. Last year, they announced they were closing 7 Catholic schools in the Bronx, one including my own, St. Angela. And it's like, you must destroy education, especially faith-based education, to keep our people so controlled. That's why I'm a big advocate of school choice with Brexit. And now a lot of Black people are actually pulling their children out of the fallen public school systems. According to the National Black Home Educators, Black home education since 2020 to present has gone from 6% to 17% and growing. You saw me. I pulled out the naughty books that they're having the binary baby as young as 3 years old reading those little children's books. A lot of Black people aren't stupid like they, don't know what a computer is. So they're pulling the kids out of the matrix. And it's a very, very beautiful thing with all the crime and now migrants sleeping in the schools. And now they want everybody to get vaccinated against their will, or else they'll be out of a job or can't come to school when they were learning virtually and all sorts of things. So school choice was broke me to leave the Democratic Party after being a dino. There are such things like myself who was like mentally bondage, but we got to do it. And that's why I want to leave your viewers to know that Moms for Liberty is a good ally of us here in New York City. Virginia, they're exploding. Shout out to Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears, who's actually from the Bronx, believe it or not, but doing great work down there when it comes to school choice. And your children's education, I believe, will break a lot of parents who can't get access. And one thing parents should know is they have a government right to a classroom observation. So know your rights, parents, and make sure you get in those classrooms and see what's going on.
And so how long ago did you switch from being a Democrat to conservative?
Oh, this happened over the summer when they made this major announcement that they're closing the 7 Catholic schools. And so that's when I was like, that's it. I got to lead by example, go full throttle with the Bronx Conservative Party. And here we are today. So, I do a lot with school choice here in New York City, believe it or not. Shout out to the Children's Scholarship Fund. Shout out to the Inner City Scholarship Fund, both which get up to 75% in scholarships to minority children, including my alma maters here in the Bronx. Also I'm trying to get people to update their IEPs, which what they are, to IESPs, to take their special needs children out of public schools and send them to private schools where they should get all the benefits and, tax breaks and get reimbursed. Right.
And President Trump has always been a big advocate for school choice. So did you vote for him in 2020? Because there are a lot of Democrats that voted for Trump in 2020 instead of Joe Biden, but they stayed registered Democrat and never changed. So Did you vote for Trump or Biden in 2020?
Yeah, actually, I was so disgusted. I actually voted third party. I voted for the Libertarian candidate, and but this time full blast Trump. You see, I'm still programmed. So they're both going at it right now. What's going on? I'm going to vote Dr. Joe Jorgensen from the Libertarian Party because I actually helped start the Bronx Libertarian Party. But I'm going full throttle Trump this time, and I'm encouraging so many people to do so that it's ridiculous.
And do you think that a lot of people in those libertarian circles, we have President Trump who's set to speak in a few days to the Libertarian National Convention. Do you think that a lot of libertarians are now seeing that, it's life or death for this country? And do you think that a lot of these people are going to be switching from third party to voting for Trump, even if they're still registered as libertarian?
That's right. Even the most liberals are cracking right now with this war in Israel, which they're turning on each other, eating each other alive, which is a beautiful thing. So libertarians, the Greens, liberal parties, all of them are coalescing and becoming more, as they say, centrist and moderate to the center and all going full throttle Trump. One of the organizations I want to give a shout out is the Gays Against Groomers and the GOD, Guardians of Nikki, who always protest the Drag Queen Story Hours. So now you have a growing contingent of the LGBT community come to support Trump as another minority group, if you want to call them that, that's actually saying, people are going too far with this agenda, even for us.
Well, that's really inspirational, and I'm happy to hear that, you are putting your feelings aside from the past. I mean, it sounds like you were not necessarily a Trump fan in the past and that you are now going full steam ahead for Donald Trump because you realize how dire of a situation we are in our country. Dion, I really appreciate all the work that you're doing to raise awareness for President Trump, and I want to thank you for your efforts in the Bronx on, getting people registered to vote Republican and getting people out to support President Trump, and for your role in helping to make our country great again and to organize for this rally. I really appreciate it, and it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Where do people follow you?
Dion Powell, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Dion J. Powell, or Dion_Powell00, all those weird things. And if you're on Facebook, check out the Bronx, New York, Conservative Democrats and Liberal Republicans, which is a mind-blowing concept.
Wonderful. Well, Dion, thank you so much for coming on, and we wish you all the best. Have a great night.
Thank you so much, Laura. Have a great night, too. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Well, that's pretty incredible. He didn't vote for Trump in 2020, and now he's realized that people have to put their differences aside and they have to save our country and vote for Donald Trump. So, not everybody was a Trump supporter, and we welcome Trump converts, of course. We're always happy to welcome Trump converts, just like Corey Lewandowski said earlier. But what we're not willing to tolerate is people in the Republican Party who, pretended to be a Trump supporter, stabbed him in the back, made money off of him, stabbed him in the back again when times got tough, and then they came back, right? It's not like we're not willing to allow for people to, convert from Democrat to Republican. But my biggest issue, I don't have a problem with people who were Democrats who were Republican. Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. My biggest issue is with rhinos, people in the Republican Party like the Reince Priebus's and the Sean Karen Crosses and a lot of these other people from the RNC who stabbed Donald Trump in the back, and now they want to come back and pretend like, revisionist history. So I don't know. I don't really know like why these people feel like they're going to be accepted back into our party, but we need to clean house. I really appreciate everybody who tuned in tonight. I want to take another moment to thank the sponsor of tonight's episode of Loomer Unleashed, 1775 Coffee. Again, be sure that you go to 1775coffee.com/Loomer and use code FRESH at checkout. Again, that's 1775coffee.com/Loomer and use code FRESH at checkout. This is great coffee. It's a great way to support me and to support Rumble, a free speech platform. When you go to 1775coffee.com/Loomer and use code FRESH, you will support my journalism and support my work because I am an exclusive Rumble creator. Also, too, if you haven't heard the news, I am launching a documentary soon. I was in the Darien Gap in Panama about a month and a half or so ago where I was exposing the invasion. President Trump spoke a lot tonight about the invasion of our country. And when I was in the Darien Gap, which happens to be one of the biggest locations, a transit country, the Darien Gap in Panama, where a lot of these illegal aliens are coming with the hopes of coming into the United States of America, I uncovered a lot of NGOs that are being funded by our taxpayer money. And so I will be coming out with a documentary called The Great Replacement. And I want to take a moment to share the trailer for this upcoming documentary with those of you who haven't seen it yet. And again, if you want to contribute to the cost of the documentary, because this is a crowdfunded project, we are trying to raise $100,000 for the production of this movie. We want to launch it before the 2024 presidential election. We have already raised $50,000, so we need to raise another $50,000. And I hope that you will support it today by going to givesendgo.com/thegreatreplacement. We're going to get that up on the screen right here. You can see here. It says 18,000 raised, but we had some private contributors, some people, larger donors who gave checks of $10,000 or more. And so I would really appreciate anything that you could afford. Let's go ahead and play the trailer for The Great Replacement.
The Great Replacement Theory. Great Replacement Theory.
The Great Replacement Theory.
Great Replacement Theory.
The Great Replacement Theory.
Replaced, that's the word, replaced.
The Great Replacement Theory is not some grand right-wing conspiracy theory, but a basic statement of the Democratic Party's platform.
These illegal aliens cross the Darien Gap. They're crossing over this bridge, and then, of course, they make their journey to the United States. See, these are all the NGOs. We have HIAS here, and then you have UNICEF, OIM.
You don't have a crisis, they don't have a profit, and they know that this is a humongous business, so they need to keep this going.
This is also about the new Silk Road, right? BRI, Belt and Road Initiative.
The Belt and Road Initiative is an important opportunity for reaching the United Nations long-term development goals.
Why are you leaving Afghanistan?
Taliban.
The Taliban.
¿De dónde eres? Angola.
Angola. You want to go work in politics in America?
Yeah.
Averaging like 1,500 a day right now this week.
As an American citizen and also now traveling to Darien Gap and speaking with the invaders, the problem is President Joe Biden and the Biden administration actively pushing policies telling the migrants to come to America.
Trump or Biden?
No, Biden, of course.
En el periodo del presidente Donald Trump.
Donald Trump had an idea, and the fact that he built a wall, he was looking forward into the future.
People are going to die. People are dying. And you ask the migrants when they get off the boat, you say, did you see any dead bodies? Every single one of them said yes. Yes, people want a better life, but this is not the way to do it. We're told that there's a lot of Chinese migrants that are coming in, and this is primarily the camp that they offload into.
The way they get paid, there's no cell phone coverage here, but you have Starlink.
Well, so the Chinese migrants are using Starlink. So if you're watching this, Elon...
我们明白了独裁体制。
Escape from China, an escape from dictatorship.
That's not what we asked. That's not what I asked. I asked you, how did you get out of China? Coming through the Darien, you don't know who's here. You're just taking people at their word. People could be given scripts. You don't know if people are being honest when they say that they're Christian and trying to leave and not get in. You don't know what they've been told.
I've been saying it's going to explode down here.
Why are they promoting diversity in the Mbara village?
NRC and the UNHCR on the bottom of the sign.
Let's move a little bit because they're getting a little bit agitated.
It's weaponized migration. It's a demographic warfare.
Okay.
I mean, it's demographic
so the Great
warfare.
Replacement, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
The New York Times decided to follow me without my knowledge to Panama. So as you can see, I, risked my life by going to the Darien Gap. I ended up getting norovirus, actually. And I got a lot of amazing footage out there. My stories received millions of views. The New York Times was so rattled by my reports that they actually did a story about my investigative reporting in the Darien Gap that resulted in Doctors Without Borders actually getting shut down in some of these migrant camps for giving illegal aliens maps with instructions on how to get to the United States. We put the president of Highest on blast as well. And it really honestly shook up the news cycle. And President Trump ended up sharing one of the promos for my documentary, which I turned into a campaign ad in support of his campaign as well. And so it went viral, and the Biden campaign even commented on President Trump sharing the ad that I made for him. Do we still have that? I think that we can find that, right? I think we still do have that somewhere. We can get it pulled up. I know that we have that. Let's see. We can play it. It's just such a good ad. I honestly just want to play it again. We weren't planning on playing it, but it's just so good. Let's see. I think this is it.
From all over the world they came.
We have so many. I think it's up somewhere. We have it. We'll play it eventually. So all I know is that I had tweeted it. Oh, here it is. President Trump had shared it. So here, we'll play it right now. This is from his True Social account. I found it. We're going to play it. This is when he shared the video on his True Social account of the ad that I made in support of his campaign. So again, the documentary is still in production right now. So if you want to support the documentary, I really do believe that my documentary is going to be a game changer, especially in terms of opening people's eyes to the invasion and why we need Donald Trump back in office. I just need to raise another $50,000. And look, we have over 100,000 people watching tonight on X alone. So if everybody donated just $1, we would reach the goal, right? Half the people watching donated $1. I really just want to raise this other $50,000 so that we can get the production of this documentary done, because I really do believe that it's going to open so many people's eyes and be an October surprise that is going to drive so many people to the polls for Trump. And again, the reason why we're trying to raise $100,000 is because we want to make the film free. I don't want to have to charge people to watch the film. And so we need to raise the money so that we can pay for the production, the cost, so that we don't need to charge money for the film in order to, pay off the production costs. So let's go ahead and play the ad. President Trump shared it when I made this ad for his campaign. Go ahead, play the clip.
From all over the world they came. Angola. Millions of illegal border crossers have entered the country unlawfully. Egypt. Cameroon. Colombia. They're coming by the thousands. Nobody could afford this, and even morally it's so wrong. Venezuela. Not smart enough to know who I am, but soon you're gonna know who I am. We will secure our borders and we will restore our sovereignty.
They recognize the fact that Joe Biden is more favorable president for immigrants. Trump or Biden?
Biden, of course.
So that's the ad that we made. And again, if you want to support the documentary, go to givesendgo.com/The Great Replacement. That's givesendgo.com/The Great Replacement. I'd really appreciate any support that you guys can give to my documentary. I'd really appreciate it. Let's see. We have a $10 super chat from Freedom of Speech 77777. Real Investigative Reporting. Thank you, Laura Loomer. We have $10 from Will 3301. You're onto something big with the judge and his daughter. Thank you. Super Silent Alex Burke gave $5. This lady is a queen, and she's going to save America. The more money you put in the pot, the hotter the fire burns. Thank you so much. Super Silent Alex Burke, again, another 5, said, amen. You better believe it. Laura has the real news. They are here to enrich themselves, not address real issues. That's until they get loomered. Let's see. Jojo Lena 2022 gave $50 and said Laura Loomer for Trump's campaign manager. Yeah. Lux Deluxe gave $1 for the movie. Thank you so much. Will3301 said, check out how Harry Sisson got Loomered on X. It's the most amazing ousting I've ever seen. LOL. That's great. Yeah, he got his ass handed to him today. Ricky Sky gave $5 and said, replace the entire RNC with Laura Loomer and give her $300,000 a month. Yeah, well, you know, I just want to help, you know. I just want to help get President Trump back into the White House so that we can make America great again. So with that, I really appreciate everybody who tuned in to Loomer Unleashed tonight. It was an amazing episode. Thank you so much to 1775 Coffee, 1775coffee.com/Loomer, code FRESH at checkout for 10% off. Thank you to my special guests, Corey Lewandowski and Dion Powell. And again, if you want to follow me for all my exclusive updates and reports, follow me on X and True Social, Gab, and Getter at Laura Loomer. And then also go to rumble.com/Laura Loomer, rumble.com/Laura Loomer, and subscribe on the locals page by clicking Get Loomered. And you can give $7 a month or $70 per year, or you can also give a one-time donation to support what I'm doing. I hope that all of you have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. And with that, I will see you on Tuesday of next week for another episode of Loomer Unleashed. Have a great weekend, and thanks for watching Loomer Unleashed. I'm your host, Laura Loomer.
There is a young female journalist, conservative journalist, by the name of Laura Loomer.
If America's men acted like Laura Loomer, our problems will be fixed in about 5 minutes.
Chained herself to
She
Twitter.
chained herself.